I know this change is gonna do me good. Even though it hurts me now. I know this change will do me the change is in its own way. I'm feeling better every day. I'm gonna look back at all of this someday. And I'm I know the change will do me good. Even though it hurts me now. I know this change will do me
Aloha. Good evening. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona with Spiritual Image Productions on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com and now Ustream. So for those of you that are interested, and by the way, we're establishing and maintaining relationships with you guys. Just to let you know, for those of you guys that are interested, you can now go to spiritualimageproductions.com, productions.com, and right there on the front is a video player where all you have to do is hit the play button, and especially on Internet Explorer, I don't know, Google Chrome, I don't know what their problem is, but on Internet Explorer you can go there and hit the play button, and you should be able to hear this show, and you can also see my mug, but that's besides the point. And if you don't like it, well then how would you say, minimize the page and then don't look at it, just listen to it. So there you go. Or you can listen to it on the player on Blog Talk Radio as well. You can go there as well. But anyhow, or you can call in 646-716-4251, 646-716-4251, and listen to, on the phone lines as well. Tonight, we're with Maxim Uskov. I'm not even going to try to say your middle name, man. Well, how do you say your middle name, Max?
my name.
Okay, you're cutting out, Max. I need you to go to a place where you can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me good now?
Okay, that's better.
Yeah, because I'm standing outside right now.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So how do you say your middle name?
How do you spell it?
No, how do you say it?
Say it. It is
Vitalyevich? Vitalyevich. What is that? Italian, Russian, Polish? What is it?
That is Russian.
Okay, we're still having a hard time with your volume, or hearing you, Max. So I don't know what's going on. Earlier it was fine.
Okay, let me try.
Okay, there.
Is this better?
Oh, much better.
Oh, perfect. Just stay with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
but yeah,
go ahead.
No, you can continue. Sorry.
Well, here, let me finish introducing you, and then we'll go from there. When Max was 19 years old, he came to Arizona State University as a freshman. He was in a 4-year relationship and was thousands of miles away from his home in Massachusetts. Then when the relationship ended, he was lost, confused, hurt. Every possible negative emotion he could have felt, he had. Then one day he saw a flyer in his residence hall about ASU's LGBTQ support club on campus. Then he decided to go to one of the meetings, and it gave him the support and the guidance he desperately needed at the time. And then he continued attending the group, and in his sophomore year became vice president. Now, 21 years old, a junior and president of the LGBTQ support club. He has also, although with 3 semesters left at ASU, he wants to let me see. He wants the club to continue after he graduates, to be able to have this group continue. He's leaving behind instructions on how to introduce the support club and some sample activities that can be practiced. Even though this club was started on ASU campus, it can still be used on various other campuses to start the same club if anyone wants to. The support club can help, or the support club helped him to when he needed it most, and he also wants others to be able to have the same support as well. The LGBT or GLBT is an initialism that stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. In use since the 1990s, the term is an adaptation of the initialism of LGB, which was used to replace the term gay in reference to the LGBT community beginning in the mid-1980s. Activists believe that the term gay community did not accurately represent all those to whom it referred to. Whether or not LGBT people openly identify themselves may depend on local political concerns and whether they live in a discriminatory environment, as well as on the status of LGBT rights where they live. Some research conducted anonymously and online, including the Q category, found that more adolescents and young adults identified as Q, questioning compared, and Q being queer. Is that correct, Max?
Q being queer or even questioning.
Okay. Oh, questioning. Okay. Compared with other LGBTQ categories, they may reflect the uncertainty and external pressures surrounding human sexuality. If you want more on this club, on the LGBTQ support club manual that Max put together, you can go to amazon.co.uk and find it there, or just Google it there and you can find it. In the meantime, what I want to do, and we're going to talk to Max some more and about all this here in a little bit. But what I want to do is give a big aloha to all of our underwriters who help make this show happen from week to week, month to month, year to year, beginning with Maha Dikini Lore at www.mahadikini.com. Maha Dikini Lore's life has been a personal journey exploring sexuality and spirituality for over 20 years. She's a certified tantric counselor and tantric healer and a certified mind sound teacher. Maha Dikini Lore is also a graduate of Margot Non's year-long Sky Dance and Tantric Facilitator Training Program, and is a current member of the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists Club, as well as a charter member of the Association of Sexual Energy Professionals. She regularly attends trainings and conferences to keep current with the latest research and information on sexual education. And then we have the 90-Day Ascension Journey at www.90dayascensionjourney.com. When you sign up for the 90-Day Ascension Journey, you will be facilitated with defining and redefining your soul or true life purpose. You will be assisted with finding out what ascension means to you. On this journey, you will be provided with tools, techniques, and assistance to empower you to connect and reconnect with yourself, your emotions and feelings, and your mind, body, and spirit. Through a universal soul-centered process, you will be going through a lifelong transformation that will allow you to move forward with your endeavors and never look back if you dare. And then finally, we do have Zakaran Shion at www.zakaran.com. Zakaran Shion teaches you how to co-create heaven on earth, how to become empowered to co-create heaven in your life, how to master the law of attraction, to make your dreams come true, and learn tips on how to focus your energy and attention in a consistent, persistent way so you can be healthy, wealthy, and happy. Ask questions, find out the secrets of the universe, find out how easy co-creating heaven on earth is in your life. Zakaran is an emissary of love and light, completely dedicated to the awakening of humanity to their full mastery and co-creation of heaven on earth. Now, if you missed any of this, or you have a hard time following along, you can go to spiritualimageproductions.com, spiritualimageproductions.com. on the right-hand side, there's a place where you can sign up for the email list, SIP's Divine email list, where you can keep abreast of everything that's happening with Andrew, Aloha, myself, and I, and Spiritual Image Productions. And then on the left-hand side, there's a link that says Andrew Aloha Live. You can click on that GIF. That'll take you to the page I'm at, and you can go over all the information for yourself if you want, or check it out and go from there. Anyway, I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank you for being here, Max. I know that you still got studies going on there at ASU, and now you'll be going on spring break when in March?
Yeah, in March we're going to spring break.
And what the heck are you going to do for spring break, Max? Okay, so we're running into that problem again. I don't know what to tell you. If you can stay put in a place where it's strong, the single strong, or find a place where the single strong. I'm not sure what's the best thing to do for you. But go ahead.
But yeah.
No, you're still cutting out for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if somebody else is on the phone line cutting in on this action. If you are, get off the phone line. Let us talk. Or whatever. I'm not sure. I don't. If somebody's in the backstage, back end office or whatever. But go ahead. Can you hear me, Max? Go ahead. Here. Can you hear me now, Max? Okay, so we lost Max. I don't know if somebody's playing games or whatever, but I want to thank you, and I appreciate your being an idiot and playing these games. I really appreciate that. So, and I want to thank you for that in advance. So, whoever you are. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So it's already been a year since I published that book, and so far everything that I wanted to happen is happening because I already found another president of the support group, and I'm going to help them this semester. I stepped down just so they can have the president experience. So this last semester I can assist them and just guide them in any way that they need to be guided. So I know for a fact that the group is going to be continued after I graduate.
Oh, good, good. So let's go back a little ways before we get to that point, Max. Let's if we can just you can kind of give us an overview of who Max is, where you came from, where you grew up at, and how you got to ASU, and then how you got to the support group. So go ahead, whenever you're ready.
Idea. Okay. So it starts I was born in Belarus, Congo. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment. So in the one-bedroom apartment, it was me, my mother, my grandmother, and my father. My father, not the best guy. He definitely wasn't someone he's not in my life now, which is good. But we ended up, my mother and my grandmother moved us to America when I was 6 years old. So at 6 years old, I moved across the world.
So you're saying you were born in Russia? Is that what I hear you saying?
Right next to Russia, from Belarus. So when the Soviet Union split apart in 1990, I believe 1991, Belarus became its own country. So we were right next to Russia. So yeah, I moved to America when I was 6. I didn't know one word of English. I only knew how to say hello and that. Obviously, I can speak English pretty well now.
Hello and candy. Is that another word? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I didn't know how to say that. I mean, I liked candy a lot. I still do. But yeah, and then I ended up moving to Massachusetts when I was 6. I remember the flight. It was really long. We had like 2 layovers, and my mom and my grandmother would tell me the story of how when we were in the trying to get to from one layover to another. I guess I fell asleep, so they ended up having to have this like guy help them out by carrying me because I was tired. I mean, like being 6 years old and traveling across the world, it's not really. It looks like it seems fun, but it's not really that fun.
Well, what happened?
And
Didn't you eat your Wheaties? What's up with that program?
what program?
No, I'm just kidding. You don't hear about the commercial. You eat your Wheaties and you
Oh.
can stay active all day or whatever.
No, I didn't think about that. But yeah, and then I moved to America, and it was hard for my whole entire family. My mom, my mother, and my grandmother, they went to college right away, and thankfully it was free for them because we were technically refugees of the United States. My father, he wasn't a good man. He may or may not be in the mafia. I have no idea. It's just something that it's kind of like one of those things where I don't want to find out the hard way, so I've never really gone back to that area. But I don't even really know how we qualified for refugee status, but we were refugees, and I'm really grateful that America opened up its borders for us because my life would have been really, really, really different. Yeah, and it was really hard for my mother and my grandmother, but more so my mother because she actually, it was a month after we came to America, and she was really upset because, her whole entire life was changed. I think she still had maybe postpartum or something, but she was in a really bad depression. Well, I guess that's where the happy times kind of ended for me because I actually ended up walking in on her trying to kill herself at 6, saving her life, but kind of doing mine in the way. Just because I know it sounds kind of gruesome, and I know it's really honest, but the way I see it, I'm living proof that someone can have a hard life and they can still make something of themselves and they can still help others. Because there's this big stigma. But we'll get more into that as the conversation, like the segment goes on.
Well, I don't know that we talked about it, but traditionally in the past, and I think we did. There have been saints that have gone through horrendous lifestyles before becoming a saint, and they were beaten. They went through all kinds of calamities, all kinds of stuff, and then eventually they became saints, and then they moved on, regardless. So, but yeah, that's But go ahead. I just thought I'd tell you that.
Yeah, no, of course. And then she left for a month. Actually, I'm sorry, 3 months. She was gone. So I was 6 years old. My father was in Belarus, and I had no communication with him. My mother ran after seeing her try to do what she was trying to do to herself, which she was gone as well, so I had no idea where she was. And I mean, literally thank God for my grandmother because if it wasn't for her, then my life would have been different as well. But she took custody of me and she took care of me, but it's still, it just still wasn't my mom and my dad. And I don't mean to sound like I was spoiled because she was amazing, and to this very day, I love her so much. Like she is my mother. But it was just really hard being 6. And then, I mean, I had some really good memories too with her. I have some really good memories of my friends. I'm not going to say that my life was all bad, because it wasn't. There could have been worse, but I honestly wouldn't have changed any of the experiences because it made me be who I am today, and I like myself. Like, anyways, so then, yeah, at 12 years old is when the first time that I was actually assaulted. I didn't know that it was assault because I was 12 and he was 21 years old. And it definitely messed with me because he had this like fiance that I didn't know about till afterwards. And then at 13 years old, my first boyfriend, in quotes, was 19. So once again, I wasn't old enough to consent, so I don't believe that it was right of him to do any of those things with me. And the reason why I'm bringing up these iconic moments, as gruesome as they are, is because those were some of the last experiences that I had before, because when I was 13 years old, when I was really upset about everything that happened to me until that point, I, tried making a permanent decision on temporary healing, and I took all the Tylenol that we had in our house, and I went to sleep. Obviously, I woke up, but it gave me some acute kidney failure, because after that, I was randomly diagnosed with Gilbert's disease, which means that kidneys aren't giving off some sort of enzyme. But the main reason why it was traumatizing and different is because I ended up waking up in a manic depressive state. I'm bipolar, and it actually put me in a different kind of reality than everyone else was in. And it's just because my emotions I was manic depressive or hypomanic. I wasn't feeding myself. Didn't even know that I was bulimic or anorexic. It's just because there was like at least 25% of me trapped somewhere in my mind. So ever since that experience, I kept on not having a sense of self. So I would try to make that sense of self be fulfilled by someone else. So thankfully the guys that I started being with after that, like dating, were my age, but none of the relationships were healthy. And then when I was 15, I met someone. I'm going to, leave his name unsaid, just because I don't want to exactly, because I forgave them, and I don't want to exactly slander anyone's name. And as a side note, my mother and I right now are on really good terms, and I forgave her finally for that as well. But back to the story, I guess when I was 6 years old, I found someone, and we were both two people who were in really bad parts of our lives. But the whole entire relationship, they spoke about coming to Arizona. And from literally the moment that they walked into the high school that I was in, Fluent High School, they were always saying, I'm going to go back to Arizona, I'm going to go back to Arizona, I'm going to go back to Arizona. But that relationship, because we were both on really bad parts and with ourselves, it was very emotionally abusive. And it was actually slightly physically abusive to some extent, because it was mainly like my fight or flight system was triggered by, basically like an example is he would pinch me really painfully until I would get so angry that I would want to get him off of me, hurt him, and then he would pin me down. And that continuously would elevate my blood pressure. And essentially, that relationship kept me in my manic depressive reality for honestly at least like 6 years longer, because when I was 15, that's when they almost wanted to put me on proper medication. But I was with him, and he told me that I shouldn't do that. So I had, like, at 19 years old, when I moved to Arizona State University, or when I moved to Arizona, I was completely not myself, because that was, like, those highly manufactured, like, very miserable. I weighed the worst. I was the heaviest that I've ever been in my whole entire life. And my family life was not good, because since I was stressed out with him, I was taking it out on my family, but granted, we had our own history. And when I went to Arizona, I was under the impression that I wouldn't even be able to go back home at all. And in my mind, like in other people's minds, beginning college is typically like beginning their life. But in my mind, beginning college was ending my life, because I just wasn't going to have anything that grounded me. And so we got to Arizona. A few months in, I was broken up with. I had nothing. I was nobody. I have never felt center of the road, never felt so alone. I don't know, honestly, what inside of me kept me going, but there was just something that told me that, I'm, going to, like, no, don't give up. You're in a new environment, you're in a new place. But then, like, little by little, I started putting myself out there. I started going to the gym. And one of the biggest things that helped me, as it says in the description, was the support group. Because I was seeing a counselor when I was in Massachusetts. From 15 to 19, I was in therapy. But I wasn't really talking about what was important, because it was mainly just, me trying to figure out, like the petty drama that people go through in high school, less me trying to figure out what was really going on. It was more of a distraction. But when I got to Arizona, I just was at such a loss that I was just like, I don't understand, like, what's going on with me. I was like, why do I feel like this? And it was hard. It wasn't easy. But when I went to that support group meeting the first time, I'm probably always going to remember it. It wasn't, there weren't many people there, but the kind of feeling that I got when I sat down in the classroom and I looked around and I knew that these people could, like, understand me. And it just inspired me to want to help other people as I was helped. Because every meeting that I came, I would meet another friend, and then I would talk more about my story, and I would talk more about, the past relationship. And then I remember I even surprised my family October break by flying back to Massachusetts randomly, and I started mending my relationship with my mother. And, my grandmother and I were always okay, but it was nice to see her. And then I, kept on going to the gym, like I mentioned earlier, but I was losing weight. I was finally just becoming happy with myself. But I don't know, it's just something was always missing. And I knew what, because I was still manic depressive. Because when I was by myself, I was still in my own little chamber in my mind, but I kept on fighting. I ended up, getting a counselor out here. I ended up just, like I became vice president of group, because the other members and I found out that I was actually going to be the last semester that group was ever happening because the president was graduating. And we were appalled because we were thinking, wait, this group helped us so much. Like, what do you mean this last semester? We can't have it be the last semester. And there wasn't any instructions left over. And we were just kind of thinking, like, what do we do? Like, oh my gosh, like, how are we going to continue this? What if we don't continue it as old members, then no one else is going to know how to continue it? And we just couldn't, like, we couldn't sit with that. So then we decided to band together, and then someone volunteered as president, and I was like, I'll be vice president. I was like, I'll help out with that. I had no idea that I was going to be president in my junior year, but then that year passed, and then junior year, I became president, and it also became my capstone. Because right now, I'm almost graduating. I have this last semester left. My degree is in psychology, minor in Russian, minor in women and gender studies, and a certificate in LGBT studies. And for that certificate, I had to do something as a capstone. Basically, the capstone was, how can I give back to the LGBTQ community? And I told them, I was just like, well, I can give back with being president of a group. So then I ended up having to find an advisor, and I did. And she was fantastic, you know. But she made me do work, which, I mean, then I wasn't as happy about because she made me write, but now I'm so happy because it's like, you know, eventually when I do become a counselor, I already had some experience with this, but after every single meeting, I had to take a log about what happened in the meeting. And then it was her idea for me to write this sort of manual, but I didn't think it was going to get anywhere. I just kind of thought it was supposed to be a project. So, you know, I wrote the manual, and it took me a bit. It wasn't something I was able to pull off in like an hour or last minute. It took a lot of planning. And the first copy that I made of the manual was it was kind of pathetic. I was with two of my friends, and I was using my friend's printer, and I was using like Scotch tape for the binding, and it looked like something that a second grader would bring home to his family. But I was like, you know what? Like from school, from like I don't know, like arts and crafts. But I was like, I'll go with it. So then I ended up going to present it, and I presented it in front of the whole entire, basically the department head of the LGBTQ certificate department and some other people were sitting. It was in a conference room, and I decided to be the first one. I guess my presentation awed the whole entire audience enough that 4 months later, so this happened the first semester, towards the end of first semester, and then in the middle of second semester last year, I ran into the department head, and we were talking about the manual, and he was asking me about groups, and I was still in the search of someone to run it, because I was just like, I was thinking like, well, I'm graduating in 3 semesters, I don't want this to end with me, and he was like, well, it should be easy since you made that manual. And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, I need to have this manual. It's just like, but I'm looking to find a way to publish it. I was like, I need funding. And he looked at me and he was like, you know what? He was just like, if you find a way to publish this, we'll fund publishing the manual. And I was like, what? Okay. So then that's when I discovered CreateSpace. And that's when I put it on there. And he funded 10 copies of the manual. And which was at least like $100, which in the end I even made some profit because one of my friends edited it for like $20, and then I ended up making like $27.50. So it was pretty awesome to see that profit. But the thing is with this manual is that I didn't write it for profit. Even now, I'm not expecting. I'm hoping that since more people know about the manual, I'm hoping that it'll get thought out. But the main reason also, I tied in my past to this manual is because I understand what my members go through. I'm not saying that my experiences are any heavier or any lighter than the experiences that the members that I have helped go through, are, but it's a perspective that some other people might not be able to understand. I've been through hell and back, and it's okay. But yeah, and it's just this manual, this group saved my life. Because in that time that I felt so alone, that I had that rough history leading up to it, if I didn't walk into that conference, if I didn't walk into that room, I would not be here on the phone. Just because that's why I don't want it to continue. I need it to continue. That's why I don't want it to just kind of because if there's other campuses, they might not have this as an option. When it's really necessary, especially feeling so alienated if anyone identifies under the LGBTQ IA plus, acronym, it's already just for them already being hard, and yeah,
So,
good with the questions.
yeah, no, I have plenty of questions. First of all, I want to take some steps back.
Okay.
You said quite a bit of information, and but I think you missed some parts that I think I want to go back over, and I think I want to understand. So first of all, a lot of people become gay because they've been molested, they've been raped by the same sex person, or the opposite. It just varies. But so my question to you is, did you feel like you were gay before you were ever molested or raped or whatever happened to you?
Yeah, I definitely did. I mean, granted, I'm pansexual, so I don't really I don't specifically aim towards men, but I did feel myself being attracted to men since I was at least 6 years old, and I don't think it has to do with any trauma that I endured. I just kind of think that that's just kind of who I've been and who I've been attracted to.
So when you were assaulted, was that a comfortable feeling for you, or was that something that was really uncomfortable for you?
I mean, it's just at that time, I am going to admit, I was the one that was on an online website and I was the one that consensually met up with the men. But the perspective that I'm looking at it is just I'm 22 today. I would never even look at someone that's 13 years old and think any of those thoughts. So I feel as if those men should have never even thought about it, let alone did it, because I wasn't old enough to give consent. So it's mainly it's statutory rape, because I'm not going to say that things that we did I wasn't 100% consented to, but it was the reason why I had even partook in those actions was because I was a child of trauma. I felt life beyond my years because of what I've been through.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to get to is at which point did you feel like you were assaulted? Like initially, I don't know if you felt that way or not at the get-go, or not till later did you realize, well, something's wrong, and then you realized that you were assaulted. I guess maybe that's what I'm asking.
I mean, at which point, I guess the answer to that question is, I honestly kind of a year ago was talking to my friend, and we were talking about the experience, and I was telling her oh yeah, because it was casual. I was yeah, it was when I was 12 years old, the guy was 21. My best friend, she looked at me and she was just that's rape, and I looked at her and I was what do you mean? She was no, but she was just that's right. You weren't old enough to consent. And I really thought about it, and I was like, you're right. It's just something I never thought about. It's just kind of something where ever since it happened, I just waved it away, or I just didn't pay attention to it.
And then that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And at that point, when you did realize that, did you become really angry?
At that point, a little bit, yeah. I considered pressing charges because it's still within that range, but I decided to not dread up my past, because up to this very date, I have forgiven everyone that has done me wrong, because I realized if I don't forgive and if I don't let go, then I wouldn't be able to move on.
Exactly. So now, what this is leading to is, if you were at 6 years old, trained and educated about what rape is, about what molestation is, and you were able to prevent all that from happening at the get-go, would you be gay right now?
Yeah, I would honestly. It's like, would I still be into men? Probably.
Okay.
I really don't believe that assault makes people be gay. It's just kind of something where your sexuality is your sexuality. It's like, and there's a spectrum of where your sexuality falls.
And I hear you loud and clear, 100%. Those violations just simply lent to your life being traumatic rather than a lot easier than it could have been otherwise. And who knows that other stuff couldn't have happened afterwards, and even though you were to prevent any of that from happening, who knows what else could have happened, regardless of what the situation is at the time when you were 6 years old. So that. But are you saying too that those assaults also lent to you being uh, dramatically and traumatically affected for years and years to come afterwards? Is that what I hear you saying?
I believe that it didn't help, but I feel as if like actually I take that back. I believe that, yeah, because when I was 13 years old, I believed that I was in love with the 19-year-old because I was only 13. Those teenage crushes that you get, and that's actually that feeling of betrayal that I felt when he, cheated on me and told me afterwards that he was using me for sex and everything like that. That what initially is what got me to honestly try to kill myself. Thinking back to that moment, like if I never met him or if I never was adopted like that, I probably would have maybe worked through my problems a little bit differently. But being bipolar and having done that and carrying myself in a manic depressive reality, I maybe maybe would have handled my other issues differently if I didn't have that as kind of the cherry on top.
And are you saying would have handled that in a better, healthier way? Is that what I hear you saying, or what are you saying?
Yeah, I am saying that I feel as if like my family issues would have been handled in a healthier manner if I wasn't sexually like assaulted at 13 because you know I definitely feel as if like it feels as if it was too much. It's kind of like a one thing or another sort of spectrum, but both of them were way too much for me to handle.
Got it. And so you're saying that delusional, possibly delusional, but illusional format of intimacy led to you becoming manic depressive suicidal and unhealthy in relationships until recently. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes, yes, because only recently is like only actually like 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, is when I finally discovered that I'm bipolar. I had some like thoughts in the back of my mind that I might be, but I was never diagnosed. But I ended up having a episode which got me into the hospital. And when I was in the hospital, they finally diagnosed me with bipolar and they put me on the proper medication. And now that I'm finally not in a manic depressive reality, I'm thinking of things more clearly. And yeah, it definitely put me through the ringer. Having that kind of experience happen to me when I was so young, because it really did make such a negative, you know, like effect on my relationships afterwards.
Got it, got it. So I tell you what, let's take a breather, and then we'll dwell more into this, and then we'll bring you up to speed of you being at ASU, and then being involved with the LGBTQ support club, and then going from there. So what I want to do is
Okay.
play a song called Soul Fragment Convergence, 528 hertz by oh wait, no, that's not what I want. I take it back. That's not the one. Although that would be good, but anyhow, when there's peace in mind, no. Okay. Okay, yeah, this will do. Shine. This song is called Shine by James and Melodic Angel from his album Loyalist 528. I want to send out love, blessings, healings, angels, of light, and love to all you and your family, Max. To me and my family, to all our family and friends, to all of our places, residents, and vehicles that take care of us, to all the people out there searching for love, searching for themselves, searching for truth, searching for what's right in this world. To all the people that are gay out there, transgender, bipolar, bisexual, whatever, or even sexual for that matter. Why not? And so to everybody, to the President of the United States and all his family and friends, to all the plants and animals and the kids on the planet, especially the ones needing concern. Anybody you want to add to that, Max?
No, I mean, I want to
Okay.
hear the song.
Yeah. So we're going to send out love, blessings, healings, angels, light, love to everyone else in need, concern, and need and concern on the planet. We will be back. Shine by James and Melodic Angel from his album Loyalist 528. And we will be back. And we're back. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual Image Productions on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com, and now Ustream. If you go to spiritual, and then we're establishing and maintaining right relationships to bring human value. Again, if you go to spiritualimageproductions.com, spiritualimageproductions.com, on the front there's a player, especially if you use Internet Explorer. There's a player there that all you have to do, a video player, that all you have to do is hit the play button, and you can listen to this and see this. Well, see me anyhow for live if you want. Eventually, I hope later when I get the studio up and going, then we'll be bringing our guests in as well via Skype and whatever else. So anyhow, tonight we're talking with Maxim Vitalyevich Uskov.
Vitalyevich.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, the LGBTQ support club manual. Max earlier told us about how he was born in Russia, or part of a country next to Russia, and came out here to the United States when he was 6 years old with his grandmother and his mother. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then moved to Massachusetts. He was violated a number, at least a couple times, is what I understand. And then, but he knew even so he knew he was gay at the time. But he was violated by men at this point. Is that correct, Max?
Yeah.
All these violations were by men, and so anyhow, but even so, he knew he was gay. But that lent to him going through a whole mirage of dramas and traumas and whatever else throughout his life until recently, when he finally discovered he was diagnosed manic depressive, and has been since been on medication, and now things seem to be clearer and more focused for you, and now you seem to be operating in a much healthier way of life for yourself for the first time ever, or since you were a kid or something like that. Is that correct, Max?
Yeah, I'm totally, like, for now, like, now I'm finally living the life that I should have been living for the last 10 years. But it's okay, because it's like better late than never, I guess.
So you came out to ASU a few years ago. You had just broken up with from a relationship, or got out of a relationship with a lover, and you came out to Arizona by yourself, and you felt lonely.
No, with him, actually.
You came out with him. Okay.
For him, like he was the reason why I came out here.
He was going to ASU as well too. I mean, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he was going to ASU, and I went with him.
Got it. So you came out to ASU, and then you broke up after you came out here. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So he got me out here to Arizona, and then he broke up with me after we were both out here. So
the point is that he was instrumental in you coming out to Arizona, somewhere where you may never have ended up at, and maybe never gotten, and you might be dead right now. You might have committed suicide because of that, staying in New York or whatever. Is that a possibility?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like the fact that I'm still here after like being here on my own is amazing, which is why the LGBTQ support group manual, like that was the first book that I ever. I'm happy that I wrote. Because
and we will. We're going to talk about that, but I want to just lead up to it, just lay the foundation.
Yeah.
In terms of how you got to writing that. But so this guy may actually have saved your life then, as a result of all that. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he
helped save your life.
But
you know what I'm saying?
But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely happy that I'm out here. I'm happy I ended up in Arizona at the end. So that's why it's like, even though it was a really unhealthy relationship, I finally found in my heart to forgive him, and in a way to forgive myself for the fact that we were both so bad for each other.
Oh, good. And that's the other thing I wanted to mention and talk about, is that you took the time to sit down and forgive all those people that have violated, that abused you, and whatever else, including your mom and your grandmother and yourself. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you took the time to sit down and do all that, so that it would allow you to move forward into your next step. Now, how long ago did you do that?
Honestly, that was December 19th was the day that I was hospitalized, and that was the day, like, maybe, like...
You mean December 19th of last year?
No, this whole entire forgiving everyone and moving forward completely, this only happened a month ago, and that's why it's changed my life. I literally changed my life by finally moving on and not holding on to any anger and not holding on to any sadness about anything. And it's just...
So once you forgave everyone, it allowed you to let go and move on and move forward. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes, and everyone says it. Like, as cliche as it sounds, it really is something that helps me. And it was the last step of the process, because I went through the whole entire process. I went through denial. I went through anger, like, with all of my pain. You know, I went through all of the other processes, and the last one, the hardest one, was finally forgiving everyone,
including yourself.
And yeah, including myself.
And that's part of the grieving process. And I don't know that we talked about that prior to, but I think maybe we did. But that's part of the grieving process, so that you can move on. People do that; they get stuck in grieving mode for years, and they don't let go, and then finally, when they like you did, and I applaud you for doing that. That once they forgive and let go, then it's like a big, huge, excuse me, weight off their chest, like really huge. And I'm assuming
Yeah.
that's what you felt.
Yeah, exactly. It totally is because I always told myself that I moved on. Like, I've always tried telling myself before, oh yeah, I've forgiven everyone. But I really didn't forgive anyone ultimately until over Christmas break that just passed. Because I finally, like for example, when I was hospitalized, I didn't have my phone. I was actually at a religious service. I had to be brought to the hospital in an ambulance. The only number that I knew by heart was my ex-boyfriend, so I ended up calling him, and he actually ended up coming to the hospital. So he came to the hospital to help me out, and I forgave him then, and then my mother and my grandmother visited me every single day that I was hospitalized for a week and a half. So then I couldn't help but forgive them as well. And then ultimately when I got out, when I finally started making progress, I forgave myself for letting myself get that to that point where it's just, it was hard. Like I was holding on to such resentment, I was holding on to so much anger.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, it was mainly towards myself because I blamed myself for everything that was happening to me, you know? And that's the reason why, that's honestly the reason why I'm being so honest and so forthcoming with all this information. I'm just hoping that maybe someone out there that's listening to this could try to forgive themselves as well as I have done.
Exactly.
And that's the point of group. I feel like that's initially the point of the LGBTQ support group is to give that support to people who are in that grieving process. Like my manic depression, that was me pretty much being stuck in my grieving process, but being stuck in the depression aspect of it.
So now, and before we go there, now when you went to the hospital, you were in a hospital back in December. What was the reason for you being hospitalized?
I had a psychotic episode. Like basically, had an acute psychosis. I was finally because to come out of manic depressive, eventually you need to come out of go into mania. So I had stopped an addiction that I had, and it's been 3 months that I've been clean from that addiction, and I finally stopped it. So then a month after I stopped it, maybe a month and a half, I became manic. And when I was manic, I was very happy because I was finally out of the manic depression. I was overjoyed. I was energized. I felt like I could do anything. And then the mania, it was really traumatic because I went through a psych evaluation. This was right before I went home. And I actually heard from a doctor, I had a first opinion of a doctor tell me that if I didn't get out of my mania, I could have died from heart failure because my pulse was at a constant 101. So I went home, that knowledge, and little by little, as I took more time off, because I finally, I was a workaholic for a while, so I finally took time off to really reflect. And as I was reflecting, I felt myself, in a sense, come into my own body. It felt like picture a fan doll, and then picture the fan filling up the fan doll. It felt like that, and it's a really strange feeling. I don't really know how to explain it, but that's because being manic depressive and being manic, I was still kind of imprisoned in my mind. I wasn't able to use my body to the full potential. Like at 13 years old, when I was trapped in my manic depressive reality, I was very literally trapped in my mind as well. But finally, at the height of my psychosis, when I went to a religious service, and I finally realized that I'm Jewish, and I was raised really religious. And then when I got into manic depressive reality, it was shortly after I was bar mitzvahed, which I became a man in the religion. I randomly stopped having no interest. And I realized that I've been really religious this whole entire time, and that just kind of triggered me into just this. I don't even can't even fathom to explain what's going through my mind. But I was so out of it, and I was so out there that I had to be brought to the hospital in an ambulance.
So basically, you threw a fit. Is that what I hear you saying? And then and you just had a breakdown, and you were taken to the hospital. Is that what I hear you saying?
But the thing is, though, it wasn't exactly a breakdown of like tears. I wasn't upset. I just
No, I'm talking about like a nervous breakdown.
yeah, like I see it's just because I had that realization that like finally figuring out that I've actually been using my body only 75% of the way. That's what kind of I think was like the reason because like it's just expect hearing that you've only been using your body for like only partly for the last 10 years. It's traumatizing. It was a really traumatizing realization that I've been the reason why I haven't been sticking to my values and the reason why I've had that addiction that I had and everything was because I was manic depressive bipolar. It's just it was a lot. And when I finally realized it, and when it was finally like almost completely in my body, that's when it got too hard for me to deal with that alone. I'm medicated because the medication kind of calmed me down quicker, and the medication is what got me to really settle into my body to really be able to be like, you know what, like I'm okay because I was never suicidal at that point. I wasn't brought to the hospital because of suicidal ideation or anything. I was just in a different kind of mindset because you know it kind of clicked. It clicked that wow, I wasn't me.
No, I hear you, I hear you. So, so prior to before this episode, you had moved here with your boyfriend, and you guys broke up. You felt very lonely, and then you said somehow you ran into this support club. So kind of go back towards. Let's backtrack a little bit and tell us
Yeah.
about that for that whole process.
So I went into the support group. We didn't, the first meeting, there wasn't too many people. There was maybe like, I don't know, like let's say 5 other people in there, but I think I kind of liked that because the conversations got intimate pretty quickly. And it kind of gave me a structure because I don't remember exactly what day of the week we met, but like, let's say, for example, take Monday. So like every single week that passed by, I had something to look forward to, and that's what it. That's what I heard from my other members that have come to my group as I was president. So that's like something for someone like structure and a place to. It's something to look forward to for someone that doesn't really have much to look forward to. Is one of the most important parts of to recovery.
So you seen this flyer and you go, okay, I'm going to attend this thing. You attend this thing, and
Yeah.
you're feeling still depressed. And then even at the very first meeting, were you feeling supported in whatever was going on with you at the time? Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, even the very first meeting, it's because I was in a room full of people who identified underneath the same acronym that I identify under, and who, you know, who are also going through something. It's because it's like I know that there's others like us in the world, but this wasn't the world. This was just a room full of people, and it made me feel part of the community in a different way because the community is huge. It's easy to feel in a room full of people alone, but these were other people who were felt alone, and that's just like so now instead of us just sitting there feeling alone, we actually sat there and bonded.
So so you met with a group of people that was a community of people of something that you could relate to, and connect with.
Yes.
And you guys mostly talked. Is that what I hear you saying? For what, an hour, hour and a half, or 2 hours, or something like that?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Support group meetings always ran an hour and a half.
And you would talk for an hour and a half about what, mostly your problems or solutions or
whatever came up. It, like, honestly, it's what the conversation, what we wanted to talk about. There were some meetings where, yeah, we talked about our problems. There were some meetings where we talked about what was going on in the week. And that's why, as president, I didn't, like, when I ran the group, I didn't really have said structure every single meeting. Every support group meeting, like, my recommendation for anyone that is actually looking to start this support group, wherever they are, is don't have complete structure because base it on your members. If you have a significant amount of members that are regulars, if the regulars want structure, let them see the structure. But if the regulars kind of are okay with coming to chit chat, let them come and chit chat. But bring them back to the topic and make sure that people aren't over speaking. But it doesn't necessarily have to be every single meeting. Okay, let's have a rigid conversation about this whole entire time.
So whenever you met every week, did you have a particular topic you were going to be talking about, or you went with the flow, whatever you talked about was whatever you talked about?
Both. So we started out with the topic, but the topic would typically last for maybe let's say 20 minutes or so. Because for example, the sample exercises that when I published my manual that I had included, those exercises didn't always last the whole entire meeting, but sometimes having one conversation starts another.
So now, did you guys ever go out, go grab some pizza or go to a football game?
Yes.
Together?
Yeah, and that's also important. It's also important to have outings because when I was a freshman, we tried going out for wings, we went ice skating together, which was really amazing. And then when I was president of a group, we tried doing some other things, we would go on dinners, and that it's important to not only just make them feel like they're part of the support group, but also make them feel like they're part of a community.
Exactly. So that was an extracurricular thing that you would do besides just meeting once a week. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, because I actually made friends from those meetings. I met people and then we became friends outside of it.
So did you become involved with lovers from those meetings as well?
Personally, I didn't, but I'm sure it happened.
Yeah, well, I don't know that that's the intention or that's what people go there for, but because again, mostly you guys are looking to support each other in a community so that you can be in a better, healthier environment for yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. So you for the freshman year you become involved with this club, and then all of a sudden you become vice president. So what prompted you to become vice president?
It's because freshman year, towards the end of the year, I wanted to become more into I was more into leadership experiences. I was applying to be a residential assistant, so I already had that I wanted to do. But I also, because it helped me so much, I just had this urge that I was I need to help other people this way. And I really wanted to eventually become president. My goal was to be vice president sophomore year and then to become president junior year. And I stayed true to that goal. And giving that's what unlocked my tenacity.
Got it. So you became vice president, and when you became vice president, what were your accomplishments for that year?
My accomplishments, one of my biggest accomplishments for that year as vice president was honestly being able to run the meetings by myself sometimes. Because I was always someone that I was a little socially awkward. So me leading a room full of people was kind of a big deal. So there was, I think, one or two times where the president couldn't make it to a meeting or two. So she asked me, she was like, "Are you okay with leading the meeting today?" And I said yes, and I did it, which then got me to realize, you know what? If I can do this now, I can probably do it later. Like I can probably, instead of being just vice president, I can probably be president. So that gave me the courage and like it opened up my eyes. I actually could be a pretty good leader.
Okay, I hear you. So now, once you started, even your freshman year, were you feeling like you were bipolar and depressive at that point? After going to a number of
At that
meetings?
point, I knew that I was depressed. I was misdiagnosed. Before I was misdiagnosed with bipolar, I was misdiagnosed with depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, like ADHD. Like they put any diagnoses on me, but I knew that I was depressed, but I never knew why. I never knew why was it when I was by myself. I would feel so like the way I can explain my manic depression is that it would be a spiral. I would be by myself, and then I would have all these thoughts, and then they would drag me down. And eventually, sometimes if I was by myself and upset enough, I would, have suicidal ideation. And even sometimes when I was around people, I wouldn't really be able to focus that much. I would still be able to break out a little bit of my manic depression. I always wondered, like, why is it like that? Like, what's going on? And it was now that I finally know my diagnosis, it's a little frustrating thinking, why couldn't the mental health professionals that diagnosed me actually diagnose me with the type 1? Why were they, but granted, something that my counselors have told me after the fact is sometimes people misdiagnose trauma.
Got it.
Not only do I have mental illness in my family, I also had a lot of trauma happen to me.
Got it. So now, did you ever act upon committing suicide in the last 3 or 4 years of being there at ASU?
I never acted upon it per se, but I
You thought about it.
I had a realization that I was maybe really close to the idea of it, too close. So I was hospitalized also in August for suicidal ideation, but it was never the last time that I actually attempted it when I was 13.
Got it. Oh, got it. Which is better.
Which is honestly what got me stuck in my manic depressive state.
So now, when you became vice president, and then you became president last year, I'm assuming. So what were your major accomplishments then as vice president or president?
Oh, as president, the main accomplishment that I made was publishing the book for sure. But it wasn't that. I always will remember this meeting, and no matter how old I get, probably will. But it was me, the vice president, and the members. We were sitting around in the circle, because we usually met in a conference room, and I asked every single one of them. I was just like, you know what? I was like, I want to hear feedback on group. Can you please, go around in a circle and talk about group? And the responses that I got were so heartwarming. Like, there were members that were saying that it gave them something to look forward to every single week. And then there was this one member that told me that in the group, that they actually felt so at peace with themselves and so like they are so accepted that they get that same feeling at church. And it was amazing to see the positive effects. And some of the biggest accomplishments that I saw was the growth that a lot of people have made from the first day they went to group to, till the end of the year, because it's just like seeing people grow and flourish and become who they're supposed to be, and knowing that I was a part of their growing process. That was one of the biggest accomplishments that I would have ever had. And even now, like, I'm okay with, even now that, like, I actually did step down from president of group. And the main reason for it was, one, to be able to mentor the new president who's taking over since I'm graduating this semester. But the main reason was so I can finally focus on myself, so I can finally let myself grow and flourish. Because I feel like my whole entire life, the reason why I haven't grown is because I've been focusing too much on helping other people grow. But my point is, it was just, it was nice to see the progress. And it was amazing to see that people get happier, I guess.
A level of understanding, a level of growth, a level of support. So, so it's confirming that the support group is working. The club is working, and it's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Exactly, and that's why, that's why I'm so happy that I'm even having this opportunity to speak about the support group on this radio show, because I'm hoping at least one person either gets inspired by my life story enough to make progress on their own life, or one person gets inspired enough to want to even purchase the book. And by the way, if someone doesn't have the funds to purchase the book, and they desperately want to because they need it for their school, I'm going to give out my email address right now.
Okay, go ahead.
MAXIMVUSKOV@gmail.com. So if anyone wants to email me, if anyone has any specific questions or anything like that about the group, about groups, I was willing to answer it. But like I said, I never really published it for profit. I mainly published it so the word can get out.
Got it. And again, I don't know if people heard you correctly, but the email. Hang on a second. The email that you have for if people want to get a hold of you for more information or for purchasing the book is a Maximum Uskov, and that's MAXIMUSKOV@gmail.com. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so so if people want to get a hold of you, or you can go to Amazon.com, I believe, and Google that, and the name of the book is called LGBTQ Support Club Manual. So now, before we go there any further, so you're vice president of the LGBTQ Support Club, and you're noticing that there's progress being made. So what made you put together this manual? What was the reason, or how did that come about?
The reason was my advisor. It wasn't even my idea. It was hers. And shout out to Natasha Mendoza. It was a really amazing idea. It was honestly thanks to her, because she was the one that told me that maybe it would be a good idea, and she gave me that extra push for me to actually go there and do it. And I'm always going to be grateful for that as well, because getting that first book published actually led me to getting a second book published as well, about my memoir, which goes more in detail about my life story that I briefly touched upon. But yeah, it's just.
Well, now what I want to also ask is, first of all, there was lesbians and male gay people there, and bisexual people there in the group too, and transgender.
Yeah, there's all kinds of people. There's people who identify as transgender, people who identify as bisexual. There were even some allies.
Some what?
There weren't, honestly, even having straight allies was really important.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So there were straight people there as well.
And also one of the number one things that made the group actually stand out is that ASC Counseling, so the actual counseling service, started actually mentoring me as a leader. So I got Safe Zone trained.
Got it.
Able to act because I'm still a student, but I made sure that I used all the resources the campus gave. So another recommendation I would have for other people who are looking to start a support group in their college go to your counseling services and ask to see if anyone would be interested in being an unofficial advisor, because actually talking to a counselor about certain things, or maybe even getting them to come in certain meetings, is one of the most important things as well. Because sometimes showing to your members that not only are you LGBTQ friendly, but there also are certain counselors on campus that are LGBTQ friendly is important as well. Because group shouldn't be the main point of therapy for people. It should be something that is comorbid with therapy.
Now, a couple things. So first of all, prior to there was no manual for this particular group, and also how many groups are there throughout the country, throughout the world?
I have no idea. I honestly don't know how many LGBTQ support groups there are out there. All I know is.
I mean, is there more than 100 or 1,000, or do you know?
I honestly have no idea, but what I do know is I don't think there's enough.
Right.
I feel like granted, there are a lot of high schools that have GSA, but even then, sometimes, some high schools don't.
Got it. So there's a number of groups out there, but and there, you just have to find them, and if not, then if you want to consider starting one at your high school or college, then you can of course talk to you, email you, and of course you can get the manual that will help you support you in successfully launching a LGBTQ support club in your area or college or school or whatever. So I want to thank you very much, Maxim, for stopping by and sharing your stories, being vulnerable, allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to talk to us and work and share your stories with us.
90 seconds.
So again, if anybody else has some information that or want to get in contact with Maxim, you can get the manual at Amazon. Also, again, you can
or Create Space as well.
Or Create Space.
CreateSpace.com is
and then or you can contact Maxim Uskov at gmail.com and then work with him there. So I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you, Max, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Have a God Goddess week. Be the love that you are, always have been, and always will be. Aloha.
Thank you for using Blog
Your
Talk
conference
Radio.
recording
Goodbye.
has stopped.